ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां हयग्रीवमुपास्महे। ॐ श्री हयग्रीवाय नमः। ॐ श्री वल्लभा समेत श्री महागणाधिपतये नमः। So we were in the topic of samvidah Atmatva-upapattih. Here, last evening or in the last class, actually I also got confused, correct? It looked like one page was repeating. It is actually repeating. Maybe even in the print it is repeating, I think, because we checked the page numbers are different. This is 117, 116, but the contents are exactly the same. So in the last class, we were looking at this objection from the Purva Pakshi, who is saying that Nanu Vidhi Mukhena Nishedha Mukhena cha Dvidha Vedantanam Brahmani Pravritti iti Shankaracharyahi eva uktam iti katham toya Vidhi Mukhena Pravrittihi Nirasyata iti chet ma evam. So this is what they were saying, that Shankaracharya himself is talking about both Vidhi Mukha and Nisheda Mukha. In both ways, Vedantas are revealing the Brahman. So how can you say that only Nisheda Mukha is there? Or you have negated, or you have rejected the Vidhi Mukha Pravritti of the Shruti. Okay, the Shruti proceeds to reveal Brahman through Vidhi also. In fact, there is a discussion even in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad in 147, I think. Atma ityeva upasita. That is called the Vidya Sutra. So in the Vidya Sutra Bhashya, there is a big discussion whether is there any Vidhi. And also I think it is there in Brahma Sutra also. And initially Bhashyakara doesn't agree to any Vidhi. But then he says there is a Niyama Vidhi, we can take it as a Niyama Vidhi. Because there are three types of Vidhi in Purva Mimamsa. There is Apurva Vidhi, Niyama Vidhi, and Parisankhya Vidhi, like that. But in the Brahma Sutra Bhashya, Bhashyakara says all Vidhis are only really Vidhi Chaya. He doesn't really even accept Vidhi itself. Because Shruti cannot really mandate or force you to do something. Purva Mimamsakas say that actually Shruti has a certain force which makes you do and all that. In that manner we don't accept. So every Vidhi is really only Vidhi Chaya. It is there. It asks you to do, but still it's up to you whether you do something or not, correct? Anyway, so here what we answer is what? Yavad Vyavaharam Brahmani Vishaya Prakashakatva Lakshana. So this is where this again it is repeating. So actually you have to go one page later, it is there correctly. Lakshana Jnanatva Sattva Jnanam Brahmeti Shrutihi Vidhi Mukhena Brahma Pratipadayati. So you can see the same content as repeated in 2 pages. And so Yavad Vyavaharam Brahmani Vishaya Prakashakatva Lakshana Jnanatva Sattva. So till the Vyavahara is there, Brahman is the one which is lighting up all the Vishayas, correct? So Vishaya Prakashaka Lakshana, Prakashakatva Lakshana. So characterized by lighting up or shining on the Vishayas, this Jnanatvam of Brahman can be taken as being there. And that's why Brahman is revealed as Jnanam Brahma. Jnanam Brahmeti Shrutihi Vidhi Mukhena Brahma Pratipadayati. Okay, but then what? Vastutaha Brahmani Tasyapi Abhavat neti neti iti Shrutihi nisheda mukhena Brahma pratipadayati. But in reality, you don't have to say that Brahman. In fact, you cannot say Brahman is the meaning of any one word. And in Paramartha, even words are not there. So basically, everything has to be negated, correct? Apavada has to be done. That's why he is saying Vastutaha Brahmani Tasyapi Abhava. So even the meaning of the word jnana is there in the Brahman and all, you cannot say in Paramartha. So only Neti Neti works. Okay, Neti Neti iti Shrutihi Nisheda Mukhena Brahma Pradipadayati, and it is the Nisheda Avadhi. Brahman is what is left after negating everything, which is yourself, so you don't even have to refer to yourself through any word and all that. So, Tasmat Nirvisheshameva Brahma iti. So, therefore, Brahman is only Nirvishesha. That is how Shruti is revealing that. Even in the case of Lakshanas like Satyam Jnanam Anantam, there is a negation involved there also. We should understand that. Because normal understanding of Satyam is that it is existing in space-time. But Brahman is the very cause of space-time itself. So, the Satyam, when we say, or Sat of Brahman, is not an existence in space-time. That has to be negated, and then that's through that only it is revealing actually the Lakshana Vritti. Similarly, when we say Jnanam, Jnanam is understood in terms of Triputi only, correct? Jnata, Jnanam, Jnayam, like that. But here Brahman is the Adhisthana of all three. It is Jnapti Swarupa. So it is not a Jnanam like a Vrittik Jnanam which is produced and which goes away. It is not any kind of, it is not a factor in any kind of Jnana Kriya. Understand that. It is the very Adhisthana of the Jnana Kriya, by itself it is Nishkriyam. So that is how even when we say Jnanam, there is a certain negation involved in all these things. So we have to understand that. So Tasmat Nirvisheshameva Brahma. And through all these words also only Nirvishesham Brahma is pointed out. Okay, once we say this, Nacha Brahmani yadi kopi visheshaha nasti tarhi shunyameva taditi vachyam. So Brahmani yadi kopi visheshaha nasti. If there are no visheshas in Brahman, then what? Tarhi shunyameva. The Purva Pakshi is saying then it has to be shunya. Okay. How can there be anything, any vastu without any vishesha? If you say that, you can't say that. Na vachyam. Why? Vishesha abhava adhishtanasya tasya shunyatva yoga. See, this here he is making a very, very succinct statement, I would say. He simply says, Vishesha abhava adhishtanasya tasya shunyatva yoga. See, what he is pointing out is, you have to go back to Ghata Bhashya also for this. Bhashyakara does not accept any Vishesha abhava at all. Understand that. The only abhava the Vedantin accepts is a Samanya abhava, or sometimes it is called Atyanta abhava also. Okay. As a concept, we accept that. But otherwise, every other abhava is the Nayayika is talking about, like Praga abhava, Pradhyamsa abhava, Pradhamsa abhava, Anyonya abhava, all these things. They are all really actually bhava rupa only, like that Bhashyakara says. That is because you should have a pratiyogi and an anuyogi for all these things. Okay. Any Vishesha abhava means what you are saying, pot is not there in cloth, let us say. Means there is a pratiyogi called pot which is not there in cloth, means that is the anuyogi we say, correct? Pratiyogi, anuyogi means you can say counter entity and locus in English if you want to simply say without using Samskrita. So every absence has to be of something, correct? That something is the counter entity, we can say, or counter positive. And then it has to be there somewhere, the locus. And that means, in fact, the Nayayikas themselves say that there is a tadatmya between the abhava and the adhisthana. That means every abhava resolves into an adhisthana, which is a sat vastu, correct? Which is a bhava. So every abhava is really only bhava rupa. That's what Bhashyakara, every vishesha bhava, he says. So even if you say Jagat abhava is there in Brahman, this is what he is pointing out. Means Jagat, the entire Jagat becomes the Pratyogi here, correct? And where it is not there means the locus is Brahman, the Adhisthana is Brahman. Therefore, Vishesha abhava Adhisthana can never be another abhava or Shunya. It has to be a bhava padartha, Sadvastu only. Is it clear? So that's what he is explaining here. Vishesha abhava adhishtanasya tasya shunyatva ayoga. So it cannot be really shunya. And further he is explaining that shunyam nahi yasya kasyapi adhishtanam bhavitum arhasi. The shunya cannot be atyanta asatta or shunya, cannot be the adhishtana for anything. If that is the case, then there won't be any, we cannot have any kind of niyati. Okay. So evam nirvishesha brahma abheda pratipadanad eva atma api nirvisheshaha. So in this manner, this Brahman is revealed as nirvishesham Brahma, and it is also, it doesn't have any bheda or anything, correct? It is abheda or advaitam Brahma. There is no bheda in that. There is no swajatiya, vijatiya, swagata bheda in Brahman. That's how Shruti is revealing that. In fact, there is a big discussion whether pratyaksha pramana is revealing bheda and whether it is against the Shruti. So one general rule is what? If the what Shruti is revealing goes against pratyaksha, then we have to reinterpret the Shruti, correct? So the Purva Pakshi even gives arguments like Adityo Yupaha. So the Yupa is Adityaha means there it is pratyaksha virodha is there. Because Yupa is not Aditya really. It cannot be the Aditya Devata and all that. So we take it as a Gauna that Yupa is shining like sun in the whatever, in the Yajnam, or it is like it is to praise the Yupa, the sacrificial post. It is said as it is Aditya. Similarly, you have to interpret all this whatever Advaitam Brahma and all is the contention of the Purvapakshi. So here we say that no, here the Shruti has to be taken literally. In fact, the Purvapakshi says it should not be taken literally. They also cannot say that Shruti is not saying that. Shruti is saying, correct, Ekameva Dvitiyam, Neha Nanasti Kinchana. So many places it is revealing Abheda. So the Abheda Shruti or Advaita Shruti is there. Everybody has to contend with that. Either they have to say you have to simply take it as a Upasana, or you have to take it as Gauna, or it is praising the Jiva and things like that. So all these arguments we negate. And also one of the arguments they give to say that we have to take a different interpretation is that it is Pratyaksha Virodha. But here we say that it is not Pratyaksha Virodha because Shruti is negating the Bheda in the entire Srishti, okay, in the entirety, totality itself. But Pratyaksha can reveal only one Vastu. So this is one argument, okay. Pratyaksha is only revealing a particular Vishaya and it can reveal another Vishaya. But even there, Pratyaksha cannot really reveal whether those two things are different. Okay, because there are very involved arguments here, interesting. So if you say Pratyaksha reveals Ghata, Pratyaksha reveals Pata, which is fine. Now, they also claim that Pratyaksha reveals the difference between Ghata and Pata, let us say. Now, where is this difference? If we ask whether it is the Swarupa of Ghata, it is the Swarupa of Pata, or whether it is again separate from these two things, the Veda itself. Now, if you say Veda is Bhinna, you will end up in Anavastha, because then again that Veda, where it is and all, if you ask, it will keep on going, correct? To avoid that, if you say that Veda itself is Swarupa of a particular Vishaya, then the Veda cannot be there without Pratiyogi. So all the Pratiyogis will enter into the Swarupa of this one Vishaya and it will end up in Advaita again. You understand the argument? So whichever way you say, you cannot, and also if you say no, simply that Ghata as Ghatatvam, Pata as Patatvam, this itself is different. But even here, Advaitin doesn't accept that. He says, okay, let us say Ghata as Ghatatva. Even Ghata having Ghatatvam itself is a problem, correct? If you say Ghatatvam is a Visheshana of Ghata, there also we have already seen Visheshana is there in the Vishishta you are saying means, does Vishishta already has that Visheshana or not? Means you end up in a problem. Again, you will end up in all these problems. Atma, Shraya, Chakraka, Anavastha, etc. Or Vyagata. But to avoid all these things, if you say no, Visheshana is there in Nirvishesha Vastu, means it is Vyagata, but then that's how we say, then that means it is actually Adhyastha. If Visheshana itself is Adhyastha, then in reality there is no Veda, correct? That's what. So Vedantin will say, if you say Ghatatvam is there in Ghata, even provisionally we accept that. Then Patatvam is there in Pata, and therefore they themselves are different. Means how do you know Ghatatvam and Patatvam are different? Have you established it? Which Pramana has established Ghatatvam and Patatvam are different? In fact, Nayayika says all these things like Ghatatvam, Patatvam, they are all Jati Vachaka, correct? They cannot have further Visheshanas. So if Ghatatvam, Patatvam themselves cannot have any Visheshana, how will you differentiate between them? Or just by saying Ghatatvam, Patatvam, you don't establish the difference between them, correct? Which Pramana is going to show you that Ghatatvam and Patatvam are different, really? So like this, there are different arguments are there. In no way you can establish Bheda. So everything is only, the Shruti is revealing that Neha Nanasti Kinchana. There is no Bheda anywhere. Okay, there is no Nanatvam, there is no Dvaitam. Advaitam Satyam. And Brahman is revealed as Advaitam. And in that manner, Atma also is the same then. Correct? Atma api nirvisheshaha advitiyaha. Because this Brahman is not something separate from Pratyagatma. Brahman is always revealed as Pratyagatma only. Correct? That's why even Shruti says, Kaschid dhiraha Pratyagatmanam aikshate. Correct? Avritta chakshur amritattvam icchan. So, Pratyagatma is Brahma. Yet Sakshat Aparokshat Brahma. Yes, Sarvantaratma and all that. That is how Brahman is revealed. It is Sakshat Aparokshat Brahma. And it is Atma. And that Brahman is Nirvishesha. Means Atma also is Nirvishesha. Tasya cha Yavad Vyavaharam Jnana Swarupatvam. So this Brahman, till there is Vyavahara, we say it is Jnana Swarupa. There is no problem in that. Vyavaharataha eva Yavad Ahankara Adhyasam Nyatritvam iti. And in the Vyavahara, till the time the Ahankara is there as Adhyastha and Brahman, Nyatritvam also is there. Okay. So these things are there. So it is all these things are now clear. Okay. It is clear to us. But Purva Pakshi doesn't accept. So he comes back. What does he say? Nanu evam atmanaha jnatritvam eva jnanatvam api mithya eva iti kritva katham uchyate jnatritvam eva mithya iti ched uchyate. Okay, now he is asking, hey, see, you are saying jnatritvam alone is adhyastha and it is mithya and jnana is swarupa, but why can't we say jnanatvam also is mithya? Means we will say even if you take jnanatvam like that, correct? Because these people define Vishaya Prakashakatvam as Jnanatvam. And if you define something like that as a Jnanatvam, that also is Mithya. Understand that. That's why we say even the Lakshana Vritti has a Nishedha in that itself, correct? So when we say Jnana, that Jnana actually negates Jnanatvam and still reveals Brahman. That is the beauty of that word. So in one way we will accept this. We have no problem. Jnanatvam api is mithya. If you say jnanatvam particularly, correct? So he is asking, why can't this jnanatvam also be mithya. Then what do we say? He is saying uchyate. What do we say here? Adhyasa prayuktatvat jnatritvam mithya tad aprayuktatvat jnanatvam na mithya iti tatha uktam. Okay, so in general, first we what do we say? Jnatritvam is due to adhyasa. Okay, because for jnatritvam, the jnata, jneyam, all these things have to be superimposed on Brahman. The Triputi has to be superimposed. That's why Jnatritvam is mithya, because it is due to adhyasa. If there is no adhyasa, whatever remains is the jnana swarupa of Atma. That's what we say. Therefore, the jnana swarupa is not mithya. Here, assuming that what you mean by jnanatvam is jnana swarupa. But if you take jnanatvam as vishaya prakashakatvam and all that, even that is mithya. So that's what he is saying. Aparamarthikatva rupam mithyatvam tu ubayatrapi avishishtam iti. But see, even this jnanatvam also is only used as a, or jnanatvam or jnana as a lakshana is also used only in vyavahara to reveal this Brahman. So in paramartha, even the word jnanam or jnanatvam and all these things, nothing really applies to Brahman. So in the sense that both these words, jnanam and jnata, are all aparamarthika only. And in that sense, both are same. Both are mithya only. Ubhayatra api avishishtam. There is no difference between these two. Okay. So that's what we say. So once we say this, what he is saying, nacha evam jnanasyapi mithyatve jnana swarupasya atmanaha api mithyatvam agatam iti vachyam. So now what they are saying, if you say jnata and jnana both are mithya, then you say Atma is Jnana Swarupa, means Atma Swarupa will become Mithya now. So Mithyatvam Agatam, Atmanaha api. Okay? If you say like that, na vachyam, you can't say it. Why? Na vayam jnanam mithyeti brumaha, yena atmanaha mithyatvam syat. So we do not say jnana itself is mithya. We are saying jnanatvam, like what you are saying, is mithya. So what we are saying is what kintu vishaya prakashakatva lakshanam jnanatvam mithyeti brumaha. So he is explaining that. So what you people mean as really jnanatvam, jnanatvam is a visheshana for you. So all visheshanas are mithya only. And you give a lakshana for that visheshana also. What is that? Vishaya prakashakatva lakshanam. Correct? Vishaya prakashakatvam is the lakshana of jnanatvam. If you say such a jnanatvam is mithya, therefore there is no there is nothing improper here or untenable. So ataha na anupapattihi iti. Okay. Therefore what? Now if we say this, now they are going back. He is saying nacha evam jnata api na mithya tasya api chaitanya rupatvad iti vachyam. So if we say no, jnanam is not mithya, then he says no, but then jnata also is not mithya, you have to say. Then what we say is correct. We say that Atma is really jnata. So now what? You also have to accept that if you say jnanam is not mithya, jnata also is not mithya, knower also cannot be mithya. Means, and the reason is what? Both are chaitanya rupam only. Means you cannot say that now vachyam. Why? Ahankara vishishta chaitanya rupatvena jnatuhu mithyatva. Because jnata is there only when the ahankara is there. Okay? Ahankara vishishta also. See here also in the Siddhanta, in the Triputi, the knower is really ahankara vishishta chaitanya. Okay, there is a concept of vishishta and upahita. So here, when we say that the ahankara itself is visheshana for the jnata or visheshana for the chaitanya, which is jnata, correct? Means both are there. And that is why we say it is really mithya. But then sakshi also we talk about. Sakshi is ahankara upahita chaitanya. Now what is the difference between this visheshana and upadhi? because one is Vishishta, another is Upahita, we say. Both are actually Vyavartaka, correct? Both differentiate one thing from the other. So there is a differentiation is there. So Vyavartakam means you actually differentiate something from everything else and show. That is called Vyavartakam. That is there for Visheshana and Upadhi also. See, for example, and another thing is Vidyamanam also sometimes they say Vidyamanam Vyavartakam Karyanvayi Visheshanam, like this it is said in the Shastra. So Neelam Utpalam, not like that. If we take blue lily, blue lotus, means in the Neelam Utpalam, the Neela is there with the Utpala, correct? Being in the Utpala, it differentiates it from all other colored flowers, let us say. That way it is Vyavartaka. So Karyanvayi, Vidyamanam Vyavartakam Karyanvayi. But if you say the house on which the crow is sitting, in fact, it need not be on Vidyamanam. The Upadhi, the crow was sitting also, you can say. Right now it is not there. But still it is Vyavartaka, correct? It helps you to narrow down and understand something. But it is not Karyanvayi, it is not there. Because if you say bring the blue lotus or see the blue lotus, you see both blue and lotus there. Right? It is all there in one Vishaya or one Karya. But in the case of Upadhi, Upadhi is not there as is not part of the Swarupa of the Vishaya. Visheshana is typically taken as part of the Swarupa of the Vishishta. So like this, some differences are there. So the Sakshi is generally Upahita and the Jnata is Vishishta. That's what I wanted to point out. So here, this Ahankara Vishishta Chaitanya Rupatvena Jnatuhu Mithyatva. Okay. Once we say this, what Editu Jnatu api Visheshyamshaha eva Pakshapakaha Tarhi Jnatrittameva Mithya Jnatu Jnata iti Vidhi. Okay. See, in all these things, one thing we have to understand, the Vishishta or Visheshya, we say, correct? And also there is Visheshana. Now here, the Visheshana by which something is being qualified, let us say, the qualifiedness is Mithya. But the actual Vastu is still Brahman, correct? Everywhere Brahman is there. So the Visheshya Amshaha is Mithya actually. Even here, when we say Jnatuhu, means both the qualifier and the status of being qualified, both are Mithya, correct? Because when you make one Mithya, the other also becomes Mithya. Similarly, if you say in the Karana Karya Prakriya, Karya is Mithya, the Karanatvam also becomes Mithya. So both Karanatvam and Karya go away, and whatever remains is Brahman, which is Nirveshesha again, correct? This is what we have to understand. So, like this, when we look at it like that, the Jnata is not Mithya, but the status of being Jnata is Mithya, or Jnatritvam is Mithya, we say. That's why we say Jiva is Brahman, correct? In that, there are two opinions. But in general, what we say is Jiva is Brahma, but the Jivatvam is Mithya, correct? The Jivatvam is Abhasa, really, because in reality, Jiva is Brahman. Similarly, everywhere it applies. That's why my Guruji used to always teach B is A, but A is not B, correct? Now, this thing keeps coming in the Gita a lot also. Okay, Bhagavan talks about like this. So, even in the 9th chapter, third, fourth verses, or even in other places, Tasya kartaram apimam Vidya kartaram avyayam anali says, correct? It will look contradictory, but the only way he says that all these bhutas are there in me, correct? And immediately he say, Nachamatstani bhutani. Okay. So how can you say that? Means this is where we have to understand the Visheshya Amsha also is Mithya, being a Visheshya. Because once the Visheshana is said as Mithya, so the Visheshana and Visheshya cannot be there by themselves because they are interdependent also, mutually dependent. Correct? Any mutually dependent thing has to depend on another independent entity. That independent entity is Brahman always here for us. So this B is A is not B, means beggar is actor, but actor is not beggar. Okay. So this thing we have to understand. The character beggar can never be there without the actor being there. But even while he's acting as the beggar, there is no real beggar, correct? Actor is not beggar. So this thing we have to be clear. In this way, the Nyatritvam is only Mithya is pointing out, not the Nyata. Okay. When we say that this Nyat, this the knower is Mithya, but there also the knowership or the status of being the knower is Mithya. The actual entity is always Brahman, which is free from all kinds of Visheshanas, whatever Visheshanas you say, it's all only Adhyastha, correct? So the Jnata is not Mithya, Natu Jnata iti Vidhi. Similarly, what Evam Ghatadi Namapi Ghatadi Avachinna Chaitanya Rupatvat Visheshyamsha Pakshapatena Mithyatvam Kintu Ghatatvadehe Eva Mithyatvam. So that is not only for the sentient Ahankara or knower. Understand that it is true, equally true for the Jagat, the objective Jagat, correct? The objective world, because each and every object also, Sad, it is all Sad, 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 correct? Everything is known as only Sat. So, the Sad aspect is commonly there for everything in the world, including sentient and insentient. The Chit is there only in the sentient, we think. But really, Sat Chit is the invariable, unchanging reality in each and every cognition, and that alone is Satyam. Understand that. So, even with reference to the Achetana Jagat, even like Ghatadi, etc., pot, etc., what there also Ghata Avachinna Chaitanya is there, we say, correct? There is a Vishaya Avachinna Chaitanya, and there is a Chaitanya which is the Pramatra Avachinna Chaitanya, Prameya Avachinna Chaitanya, Pramana Avachinna Chaitanya also we talk about. So the Prameya or Vishaya Avachinna Chaitanya is there. That is the Ghata Avachinna Chaitanya here. And even here what? The Ghatatvam is Mithya there. But the Ghata itself is not Mithya because Ghata also is Brahman alone. Understand that. Correct? Once the Ghatatvam becomes Mithya, then the status of being qualified by Ghatatvam also becomes Mithya, but Brahman is still there. Okay, we have to understand Brahman as it is. So even here, Ghatadi Avachinna Chaitanyasya Chaitanya Rupatvat Visheshyam Shapakshapatena Mithyatvam Kintu Ghatatvadehe Eva. So the Ghatatvam, Patatvam, Matatvam, whatever Tvam, all those things are Mithya. But Brahman, which is the initially it is the Visheshya, but the Vishesh being the status of Visheshya goes away also along with the Visheshana, and Brahman remains as it is. That is not Mithya. The Ghata itself is not Mithya if you look upon Ghata as the Sad. Because even the Upanishad also ask you to see only, correct? Even Bhashyakara says, Karana Rupena Karya is always Sad only, Sadvastu. And when the karya becomes mithya, karanatvam becomes mithya, but sat is still there. The sadvastu, nothing happens to that. As sadvastu, everything is only satyam only, and therefore there is no problem. So here, what tasmad atmani kalpitasya ghatadi vishayasya tad jnatuhu ahankarasya cha yat swarupa bhutam jnanam sat jnanam satta abhinnam sukha abhinnam cha tadeva atma. Okay, basically is now connecting the Chaitanya to Satyam and Ananda. Sukha Bhinna, Satta Bhinna we say. So what he is saying, therefore what? In the Atma, whatever is imagined, correct? Kalpitasya, the Bheda, in terms of subject, object and whatever, knowledge or knower, known and knowledge. So Ghatadi Vishayasya, and also the knower of this Ghatadi Vishaya, which is the Ahankara Vishishta Chaitanya we say. Tad jnatuhu ahankarasya cha yet swarupa bhutam jnanam. The jnana is common. Okay, because the ghata avachinna chaitanya is there, ahankara avachinna chaitanya is the pramatra we say, and then the mano vritti avachinna chaitanya is the jnanam, vritti jnanam or pramana. All three, for all of them, the swarupa is jnanam only. That jnanam is non-different from existence, satta abhinnam, and that itself is also sukha abhinnam also, because it is the source of all happiness also. Happiness also cannot come from anywhere else. Correct? It is the source of all happiness. It is Ananta also. In that way also we can say it is Ananda Swarupa. Anantatvat. Because all dukkha is because of parichinnatvam. And since Desha Kala Vastu Aparichinnatvam is there in Brahman, it can only be Sukha Swarupa. And therefore that is Atma. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Anandam. That is the Atma Lakshana. So that itself is Atma. Tadeva Atma, Tacha Nirvishesham, but it is Nirvishesha. We may use different words to reveal it. Okay. But it is Nirvishesha. And further what? Tatra Vishaya Prakashakatvam tu Jnatritvadivat Kalpitameva. So the Vishaya Prakashakatvam also, which is called Jnanatvam by you, is equally Mithya. Okay. Jnatritvadivat, like even the being the knower. Therefore what? एवं विषय प्रकाशकत्वस्य वस्तुतः आत्मनि अभावादेव प्रवृत्ति निमित्त अभावेन ज्ञान शब्दोपि न आत्मनि प्रवर्तते इति शब्द विषयत्वम् आत्मनः शब्द अविषयत्वम् आत्मनः उच्यते. So that's why see all words cannot objectify Atma. That means even Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, all these Lakshana Vritti, whatever we talk about, that's why we talk about Lakshana Vritti, because it cannot be the direct meaning of any one word. If Brahman is the direct meaning of any one word, it will become Parichinna. Correct? Because it is the meaning of only one word. So it cannot be the meaning of any one word, but in reality, it is the meaning of all words we say. That itself is a contradiction kind of a thing, but that's how you have to understand. So this Atma or Brahman cannot be the direct meaning of any one word. So that's why even words like Jnana, Ananta, Ananda and all, they are also negating your misconceptions about yourself and Brahman. In the process, they reveal you as you are. That's what we are saying. Therefore, even if you define this Jnanatvam as Vishaya Prakashakatva, in reality, that also is because Vishaya itself is not there in reality, means where can there be any Vishaya Prakashakatva? So, Atmani, all these things, Abhava Deva, and there is no Pravritti, Nimitta, etc. in the Atma. There is no Kriya in Atma anyway. Okay, it is Nishkriyam. And it is Aprameyam. So, this word also cannot approach this Atma. So there can, or objectify. That's what pravritti nimitta abhava is there for the word. If we say, what we really mean is that it is not the direct meaning of any one word. Means word cannot objectify it by being the meaning or by making Brahman as the meaning of itself. Therefore, Jnana Shabdopi na Atmani Pravartate. The Jnana Shabda also cannot directly refer to Brahman because it is Shabda Vishaya in general. Because Shabda can only reveal through, even Bhashyakara talks about this in the Brihadaranyaka Bhashya also, that only through Jati, Guna, Kriya and Sambandha, correct? None of these things are there in Brahman. These are the Shabda Pravritti Nimitta. Jati, Guna, Kriya, Sambandha we say. But Brahman is Ekameva Advitiyam. So it doesn't have any Jati, Guna. It is Nishkriyam, so it doesn't have any Kriya also. And it is Asanga. It doesn't have any Sambandha. So none of these things can apply to Brahman and Atma. Therefore, what do we say? Tatparya vritya tu Atma jnanadi shabdaihi pratipadyate iti nishedha mukhena cha pratipadyate iti aupanishaddatvam cha uchyate iti bhavaha. But how can you say that Upanishad is still revealing means Upanishadam Brahma, because Upanishad is revealing it through Lakshana Vritti. That is what he is calling it as Tatparya Vritti. Okay. It is not, it cannot directly reveal, no words can directly reveal. But still, the beauty of our teaching methodology is what? That which is not the direct meaning of any one word is still revealed through words. That is the magic. That is the magic of Vedantic teaching. Okay. So we'll reveal to you that which is not the meaning of any one word, but through words alone, it has to be revealed. That is the magic. So by implication, we reveal. That is the Tatparya Vritti is talking about here. Tatparya Vritya Atma. Basically, that Tatparya Vritti or Lakshana Vritti also is, as I told you, it is negating all misconceptions about this Atma. So it is essentially, it is also Nisheda Mukha. So by negating all wrong notions, Brahman is as it is revealed then. You don't have to specially do anything because it is Swaprakasha. Swata Siddha Vastu. Only the all these uh, misconceptions have to be removed. Ajnana has to be removed. That's why Jnanam can only be talked about as destruction of Ajnana. There is no new Jnanam which we can produce. Understand that. That is also important. Because if you say Jnanam is produced and all that, then every Vrittik Jnanam is Shanika. Then how can this be then Nitya? It can give Nitya Phala and all that. There will be a problem. So Ajnana, once it is destroyed, it can never come back. That's it. Okay, because once this, again, another question people ask is what if somebody gets amnesia and all that means? See, once this jnana is, once the jnana takes place, it is no more dependent on mind and all that. Mind, you, you are free from all kinds of things, including your mind. So where is the question of amnesia and all that? Okay. Amnesia also is still only for the chitta, correct? Atma is not chitta. Jnani is not the chitta. So it is not dependent on memory or anything. Understand that. Therefore, this jnanam takes place by destroying the ajnanam. Once ajnana goes, means that is it all, it's all gone. There is nothing more to be done. Brahman is shining as it is. Okay. Okay. Even after we say all these things, what? And because of this Brahman Atma can be revealed through Upanishad only, and that's why it is called Upanishadam Brahma. Okay. Still, what there is a Purva Paksha, what Nanu Jnatritvam Atmanaha na Ahankaradhyasa Prayuktam Kintu Jnanatvam Viva Swabhavikameva Ahankara Jnatritvad Atmanaha Nahi Ahankara Jnatritvam Ahankaradhyasa Prayuktam Iti Chet. Even after we say all these things, they don't accept. How can you say only Jnanatvam alone is Swabhavika? It is natural or its very nature. Jnatritvam also is same. Okay, it is not ahankara prayukta or ahankara adhyasa prayukta basically. So this jnatritvam also is the swabhava of Atma only. Like this, they are maintaining still, means it is not so. We cannot accept that. Why? Because sabhasa eva ahankaraha atmanam janati gatadiniva. Because they maintain, because Atma is swaprakasha when you say, or correct, swayam prakasha, means the jnatritvam is there still, it has to know itself. That's why we say swayam prakashatvam is not in that manner. Or even at least it's, they are saying there is I thought, correct, ahankara. I know myself, means Atma is the I there. It has to know itself, means jnatritvam has to be there, swabhavika in the Atma, means we say no, that is also only due to abhasa. The Chaitanya abhasa only knows itself in the sense that because it is basically Sakshi is lighting up the I thought also. And that is taken as knowing oneself, really speaking. And but the Sakshi is lighting up the other Vishayas also, but that is taken as this. So both the I thought and this thought are all only Ahankara Vritti really, or see, are the Antakarana Vritti. But one Antakarana Vritti which is lighted up by the Sakshi is taken as I, another Antakarana Vritti which is taken as which is lighted up by the Sakshi is taken as whatever, this and Vishaya and all that. So both of them are only Abhasa. So even Atmanam Janati or Ghatam Janami, Aham Janami, Atmanam Janami or Janati, all these things both can take place only due to the Siddhabhasa. Once we say this, they are saying there is a Vyaghata and all that. All these things we'll see in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಗುರುಜಿ.
Thank you.